This is Rob. That's Justin over there. This is Game Playing You. Today we're on, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It doesn't matter anymore. And you definitely have you have a different look going over there. That's half caveman, half homeless person. What is happening out there with you?
I got the Andrew Luck neck beard. That's really kind of the most successful thing going on here.
Yeah, it's
Everything
fantastic.
else is a mess.
I say the best thing about this is, first of all, you've eluded me for a number of years now being on the Game Playing You on our podcast. And just like everything else, I get my net out there and I start reeling people in. And so you're one of the ones that I haven't had on yet. So thanks for joining us.
I'm honored to be invited and included here.
So let's talk about your career, your life, what you got faced with right now. I think you've been in a position now with U.S. sports camps, Nike U.S. sports camps, or Nike camps. You could talk about that a little bit more.
Sure.
And now you've pivoted over into esports maybe a couple of years ago. I think the last time we've been talking about this, and so just talk about your career, your kind of your position, and how you got where you are right now today.
Sure, yeah. So I went to Northwestern University where I played basketball and tennis, and really enjoyed my time in Chicago. From there, I went to the Active Network in San Diego, where I got put on a team that was launching a brand new product to a brand new market in the form of online registration for school products, so yearbooks, prom tickets, etc. And really interesting experience. Got the feel of kind of what a startup kind of looks like within a large organization, and met an amazing guy who's become a mentor of mine there, a guy who hired me, a guy named Chris Carver, who's been a successful entrepreneur in other places. From there, I went back to a place called Priority Sports in Chicago, where I was a intern during my last quarter at Northwestern. Priority Sports is a sports basketball and football agency representing some of the best players in those sports, and did that for about 4.5 years, and just kind of realized that the agency life wasn't for me. Met a lot of great people, very cool cocktail conversations to be had, and share some stories, but realized that I was searching for a little bit more kind of intellectual stimulation, and the 24/7 customer service was going to be a challenge, I think, for family life, as I think a lot of agents can attest to. So while that was an amazing experience, super influential for me as far as kind of learning what a great operation and organization looks like, from a corporate management standpoint. I came back to the company U.S. Sports Camps, which is a family-based company that I grew up around. My dad started the business 47 years ago, and been there for about 9 years. And U.S. Sports Camps is, for people who don't know, is the operator of Nike Sports Camps. And so we've kind of built this little business over the 47 years, but especially experienced a ton of growth over the last 5-6 years. And we face unprecedented challenges now in a COVID-19 world, where what we've done for many years is aggregate aspiring athletes and young athletes, and connect them with coaches and colleges and opportunities to improve in the summertime. And we're obviously facing just incredible challenges, as are a lot of people in the youth sports space. And then just to touch quickly, on the esports side, I dove into that 2 years ago. Just saw a kind of a product market fit with how the space was evolving with what we do in camps and connecting coaches and trying to build more sustainable gaming habits in the esports world. And that's been super exciting, just to see how that space is evolving, and connecting with a lot of creative, smart people in the space, and kind of sharing what we're trying to do. So that's a bit of a long-winded answer, but that's where I am today. That's where I've got to today. Rob, you still there? Nope.
You know, it's
There you are.
lagging out. We're back. That's
I
what
got
happens when
you.
you go live, right? Go ahead. Did you answer that question?
What did you hear? Did everybody fall asleep halfway through that? I don't know. I don't know what got through.
No, I don't know, but I'm sure it was great. I lost you on my end.
Oh
I
man.
know it.
Okay.
Live, right?
Yeah.
The wild west of Wi-Fi. So let's talk about that part of it a little bit more, though. Let's dive deeper. Do you see sponsorship dollars starting to shift over there, and do you see this as a big part of your business moving forward?
Esports.
Yeah.
You're referring to? Yeah. Yeah. I think you see a lot of movement from the traditional kind of sports space into that space. You see the big, brand companies, athletic apparel companies like Adidas and Puma getting in the space, and Nike has done a lot of interesting things, especially abroad, and they continue to get more involved. So, yeah, I mean, I think this space is, especially in the COVID-19 world, it's under a spotlight now to see if it can really kind of fly on its own in some ways. Um, can it gain traction with that traditional sports fan and athlete? So yeah, I mean, I think it's a super interesting time. You see viewership on Twitch that's hitting record levels. You see games coming out from major publishers that are just super popular, like Valorant with Riot Games. Um, so for lack of a better word, the space is exploding.
What do you think about, if youth sports obviously is going to take a major hit this summer, just the tournaments, AAU tournaments, travel team ball, summer camps. How does esports then fill a little bit of that void?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's the business that matters to you guys, but how do you create a balance between still fulfilling kind of that urge to compete, and filling it with an esports? And how do you kind of use that also to make sure that they getting enough of the real life bat and ball sports as well? It's a crazy question. I don't know how I thought of it, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're seeing more and more crossover with younger players and younger athletes that do both, right? And kids are competitive, or at least athletes are, or competitive players are by definition, right? Kids that are playing little league baseball and AAU basketball and travel soccer, whatever. So this summer we were really excited about launching a kind of sports and games camp in New York City with one of our longtime and um, best basketball directors, a guy named TJ Jones, where the idea was we would run a 9 to 4:30 Nike basketball camp and then add on an hour and a half of gaming kind of leadership development through NBA 2K with an organization called the Center for Education Innovation, CEI. Um, and that's still up there. We're still marketing that, hopeful that COVID-19 disappears. But in a world where we're still in social isolation and we can't run physical camps, um, we think that there's just a great opportunity to provide really quality coaching and instruction in gaming, and there's a difference there, right? There's gamers and there's kids that like to play games and will play for hours on end and do it with their friends, and it's a great social experience. We think that there's just a great opportunity to connect those that have a lot of knowledge, those that are passionate about a game and the sport, with those that are seeking to improve and kind of play with a little bit more purpose.
How does that? How does from your camps and how do you see colleges playing into this? If that transition now from high school to college, is it becoming a reality for in your world that you see of scholarships getting a degree in esports?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the degree in esports. I think on the college level, you see more colleges offering financial aid to skilled esports players. And the academic profile of esports players has been really strong, especially in the STEM category. So it's really attractive for colleges to have esports programs and to invest in them, because a lot of the good players are also really good academically and are add a lot to the campus experience for other athletes and other students. So I think you see more colleges investing in dedicated gaming spaces that are there for recruiting good esports players. UCI, University of California, Irvine, has really kind of led the charge there. And we're huge fans of what they're doing. But you see more programs like University of Oregon and University of Washington has an amazing gaming center. And there are many others that are investing in the space and attracting really good students and good esports players. And so, where we think the opportunity still is on the coaching level and instituting kind of healthier gaming habits for even those college players and helping college coaches who are, maybe a little bit raw in the coaching world with a mindset or a kind of a playbook to coach their players.
What do you see happening then as a career opportunity, a career path for these kids, not just from a gaming standpoint,
Sure.
but from a management standpoint, operations, marketing? What do you see happening there?
Sure. Yeah, good question. I mean, I think so. We've done a couple girls in gaming events actually. We did one at Riot Games last year, last May, actually, in partnership with UCI and Cloud9. And then we did another one up in Vancouver in October, with Adamus Gaming and EA Sports and Logitech. And the goal was to, provide just education on everything that this industry has to offer beyond just being a good esports player or gamer. From product development to marketing to game design. We at Riot Games, a young woman named India went through this incredible just lecture and interactive discussion on what goes into creating kind of their champions. And to see the girls really light up around that, in kind of this safe space, which, in gaming still has that issue of toxicity but the girls, 50 girls, they came in, they saw the campus, and they got just amazing exposure to everything that the industry has to offer. That's, growing in a lot of different ways, as we all know. Those kind of experiences, I think, are really, really valuable. We want to do more of them. And, I just think that there's so much opportunity beyond just being a great player in the space that people are starting to learn more about.
It's interesting that you said it about the female side of it, because females aren't known at this point, except maybe in South, in Korea, in Asia. There's a lot of female gamers, but not here in the United States. It doesn't seem that way yet. Do you see that as a whole hidden demographic that's still waiting to come out to become participants and administrators and on that side of it. Do you guys
Yeah,
see that as a big market?
yeah, 100% for sure. I think that there's skills that females are just genetically or just better suited for in terms of becoming that are effective in gaming. Communication being one of them. I think there's a ton of science behind this, and I'm gonna quote the wrong thing if I try to do it, so I'm not going to. But there's a huge opportunity for women and girls to be incredible players, to get more opportunity to benefit from dedicated coaching, to be incredible leaders in the space. And you see it. I mean, you see this happening even over the past year. There's a lot of that going on. So for sure, I think there's a huge opportunity. I feel like I might have just lost you. There you are.
It's just one of those shows, right? It's just one of those
Yeah.
shows.
At least I know what it looks like when we lost connection now. So I'll just stop talking.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I appreciate you being flexible with me on this one and going with it's live. It's live, so you just got to roll with it. But so let's wrap it up here and let's talk about advice. If there's any advice that you could give to someone who's a young professional looking together, whether it's the traditional sports industry, whether it's carving out a niche, whether it's just discovering what they're good at or what they're passionate about. So if you were to go give advice to a 21-year-old who probably missed their senior semester and wants to come out and who's coming out now, wants to get into the industry, they have a sport management degree, what advice do you give them?
Are you there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool. I think I've heard your podcast before about just kind of saying yes to new jobs and opportunities and having kind of an idea of where that might lead. But I think most important is just surrounding yourself with really smart people that just for the intangible benefits, even if the job might be a little bit less than what you desire or had in mind. I think just learning from really good leaders, really good organizations that are well managed, and there's a strategy and a plan. And as much as you can kind of understand around how a good corporation functions and what good leadership and management looks like, I think that's just so beneficial. And you never know how things are going to turn out. Like, you just got to kind of follow your gut instinct and side on the idea that, like, hey, I want to work for motivated, smart people. I want to surround myself with people that'll make me better, that I can really learn from. And I'll sacrifice dollars, or I'll sacrifice what I had in mind a little bit if that opportunity presents itself. So that's kind of high level, maybe a little bit too general, but that's kind of the way the sports world works too, right? It's coming out of a management program or coming out of undergrad, like, you're not going to get the job that you think you might deserve or that you'll ultimately have in the next 5 to 10 years. Sports, business is super competitive, but if you can work with smart people who have kind of your back and just check your ego at the door, do whatever is asked of you, I think ultimately you'll be successful.
So great advice, by the way. When you're in a unique situation because you carved out a niche for yourself. You went on a career path. You came back to work in a family business.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of co-founders that I'm finding now coming up in especially sports technology. A lot of it is, it's father sons, it's relatives, it's best friends. Talk about that dynamic and talk about that culture from a pure business standpoint. How do you look at it different than you probably did growing up in it? Now that you've been out there and you're an adult, coming back into the business, what's your perspective on that now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was super, super important for me to have outside experience. Like, I worked for a guy, Mark Bartelstein, in Chicago, who's a premier agent, and he kind of had a philosophy of not hiring people straight out of college. And at the time when did my internship and I was looking for a job, and I asked him for a job, and then he kind of gave me that principle of his, and I didn't get it at the time. I 100% get that now. I think other experience is super relevant. And for me, people always ask, well, are you going to go into camp business? It seems like such a natural fit for you, and kind of where you spent your time. And it was always kind of in the back of my mind, but I really wanted to pursue other things first. And I did. I got, 7 years of really good experience. And then the family business and the dynamics are interesting. Like, your relationship with your family changes. There's no way around it. And I think it's mostly for the better, but it also presents some challenges when there's a difference of opinion on strategy or management or whatever. And so you just have to kind of realize that you have your place and you focus on what you're assigned, and kind of put your head down and go forward that way. I think there's some businesses and some families that are doing really well in this space that are families. I think about the Lakers and I think about the Leonses, and I mean their vision, their network, and their kind of channels are so spread out and so diverse that there's definitely enough room for everybody. But I have a lot of respect for kind of how they work together and how they communicate from what I know from the outside. And so, yeah, it's an interesting space, but I think, getting experience kind of outside is super helpful. I also did an EMBA program at Wharton in San Francisco a couple of years ago, where I was working at US Sports and also going to class every other weekend in San Francisco with classmates flying in from all over the world. In that perspective, that experience for me was super unique and helpful in kind of just understanding, the role and the fit that my company has in kind of the grand scheme of corporate America, and how it compares and differs from other people's experiences working for larger organizations, and it just gave me a lot more perspective. That I think I've been able to kind of bring into the organization has been valuable.
No, that's fantastic, and it takes a mature person to do that, and a leader, and I think in understanding that sometimes, especially when you have a founder being dad or another relative, and sometimes they're not always the quickest to adapt new technology or new ways of doing things. And it may take them a little bit longer to get there, but the ultimate respect that what they built from scratch, and how much passion and time and strategy and relationships and understanding of building a business, you can never, ever look past that.
No.
And, right, you can never look past that. So,
yeah, building a business is really hard. I'm finding that out in the esports world. It's, there's one where you see opportunity. It's one thing. Actually building a sustainable business is difficult. So anybody who's done it, entrepreneurs, like, so much respect for them, whether it's your family or not. It's an incredible achievement to do that.
Yeah, it's scary, rewarding, the whole thing. But and it was scary today because I had no Wi-Fi in my house apparently.
Okay. I was gonna get on the phone with Comcast and raise some what, but.
Jeez, it's ridiculous. But
yeah.
Hey, the great thing about it is, we got a tour of your house. I walked through the house with you, trying to find a spot.
Yeah. Ready to get out of the house, as I think everybody is.
Yeah. So, Justin, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad it only took me 5 years to get you on here, but we finally did it. Although we had some bumps in the road, it was a great discussion, and I know I've been getting comments, so everybody's heard what you've said. So I'm the only idiot that had the problem.
No. Thanks, Rob. It's always great talking to you, and look forward to staying in touch on all this stuff.
Absolutely. So that's Justin. I'm Rob. You're watching Game Plan U today. Everybody have a great week. Be safe out there. Thanks again, Justin. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.